So we've already discussed the nuclear reaction. How is it differ from a chemical reaction? The nuclear stability, the radioactivity, and the mode of decay of radioactive nuclei, such as alpha particle emissions, beta particle emission, gamma radiation emission, positron emission, and decay electron capture. We've already discussed the rate of radioactive decay, the half-life, and the applications of radioactive nuclides to medicine, chemistry, commercial applications, and agriculture. So today we will discuss uh, bombardment reactions. So basically, more than 1,500 radioactive isotopes have been prepared in the laboratory. The number of such isotopes per element ranges from hydrogen 1 to boron and to 34, which is indium. They are all prepared by bombardment reaction, in which a stable nucleus is converted to one that is radioactive, which in turn decays to stable products. The bombarding particle may be, first, a neutron, usually rather low energy, produced in a fission reactor, and is and a typical reaction of this type is shown. So, so we have here aluminum 27 bombarded with neutron will produce aluminum 28. So the product nucleus aluminum 28 is radioactive and is decaying by beta emission. So we have here uh, the product is silicon 28 and with a beta particle. So again, we have here bombardment reaction, aluminum 27 bombarded with a neutron. So it produces aluminum 28. So again, aluminum 28 undergoes a decay, which a beta particle emission. So it produces silicon 28. And we should also take note that a charged particle, whether it's electron, positron, or an alpha particle, can be accelerated to very high velocities in electric or magnetic fields. In this way, the charged particle acquires enough energy to bring about a nuclear reaction, so despite of electrostatic repulsion with the components of the atom. So the first radioactive isotopes to be made in the laboratory was or were prepared in 1934 by Irene Curie and her husband Frederick Joliot. They achieved this by bombarding certain stable isotopes with high energy alpha particles. One reaction was, we have here aluminum 27 bombarded with helium or alpha particle. So it produces phosphorus 30 and a neutron. So, and we can also observe that phosphorus 30 is radioactive and and decaying, no? It decays by positron emission. So we have here another silicon 30. So an interesting application of bombardment reaction is the preparation of so-called transuranium elements, beginning with neptunium 93 or Z equals 93 in 1940. So a series of elements with atomic numbers greater than the uranium has been synthesized. So in this table, it shows the synthesis of transuranium elements. So from uranium 238, no, bombarded with a neutron, so it produces neptunium. Okay, and then after uh, Neptunium, no, it it undergoes beta emission or beta particle emission. Then it produces as well as plutonium 239. So after that, plutonium 239 bombarded with two neutrons. So it produces uh, americium 241 with a beta particle. So we also have here positive ion bombardment. So ayun. The plutonium, no, bombarded with an alpha particle produces curium and a neutron. And curium bombarded with an alpha particle produces californium and a neutron. So we have here californium bombarded with carbon 12, no, produces rutherfordium rutherfordium and 4 neutron. We also have another positive ion bombardment. The californium 249 is bombarded with nitrogen 15. Okay, it produces dubnium 260 and 4 neutrons. So we also have another californium 249 bombarded with oxygen 18. So it produces seaborgium 263 with 4 neutrons. So in October 2006, a research team of scientists from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California, USA, and a joint Institute of Nuclear Research in Dubna, Russia, reported the indirect detection of UO 294, which is the element 118 before, okay, and is reported to produce by the following collisions. So californium uh, 249 bombarded with calcium 48 produces this particle UuO 249 plus 3 neutron. So as of today, if you can check your periodic table, so an element with an atomic mass of 294 and with an atomic number of 118 is what we call oganesson. So oganesson is a product of bombardment of californium 249 and calcium 48. So let's now proceed on nuclear fission. So isotopes of elements with atomic numbers above 80 are capable of undergoing fission, in which they split into nuclei of intermediate masses and emit one or more neutrons. Some fissions are spontaneous, others require that the activation energy be supplied by bombardment. Some of the possible fissions that can result from bombardment of fissionable uranium-235 with fast neutrons follow. Let's take note that the uranium-236 is a short-lived intermediate. So we can see here that uh, uranium-235 is bombarded with a neutron. So since this uranium-236 is short-lived, so basically splitting the uranium-236 or 235, it will, or this 236, uranium-236 will break up to, or may break up uh, to give isotopes, another isotopes. No. So we have here the following. So just remember that nuclear fission is splitting of isotopes into fragments. No? And we should also take note that more than 200 isotopes of 35 different elements have been identified among fission products of uranium. Again, take note that fission is splitting into fragments. So we have here an illustration on how fission reaction occur. So a neutron bombarded to uranium-235. So it undergoes the following processes. Nag-split siya into krypton and to barium. Nag-produce naman ng tatlong neutron, which bombarded uh, another uranium-235, three uranium-235. So it produces again. So this is an example of a self-propagating nuclear chain reaction. So we have here a nuclear or a diagram of a nuclear reactor. We have here a cooling tower, a condenser, which the steam from the turbine is condensed by river water. We have here a pump, steam generator, and basically the steam, a control rod, a nuclear. This one is the nuclear reactor, the yellow one, the uranium fuel, and the liquid water under high pressure. So this one carries heat to steam generator. And we also have the steam turbine, which generates the electricity. So we have here a schematic diagram of a light water reaction or reactor plant. So pinasimple lang siya tulad kanina. So we have here uh, uranium fuel, this one, control rod, and this one is the whole nuclear reactor. No? So ang nangyayari ay we have here a water, no? Dahil mainit ito, no? Uh, well, the water here kasi bumababa yung steam din dito, may condenser tayo. Yung steam kino-condense niya and it turn into liquid, pero syempre mainit. So we have here an inlet, no? Pumapasok yung tubig dyan at 80 degrees Fahrenheit para palamigin yung mainit dito, mainit na tubig. So para lumabas din siya na malamig. Ah, sorry. So technically, pag malamig pala yung papasok dito, syempre mainit dito, mainit siyang lalabas, no? Mag-iba yung temperature. So yung water na nandito, papasok siya dyan, and iinit siya dito. Why? Kasi meron tayong steam generator. This one is uh, a liquid water under high pressure. No? So iinit yung water na pinump from here will be from liquid it will turn into steam. So pupunta lang siya dyan. Then here, ma-generate yung turbine which generates the electricity. Kaya umiinit siya dito is because of this one. So yung molten sodium or liquid water under high pressure natin, it will go here and then pump again here. So ito ang nagpapagana. This one is the uranium fuel in the control rod. This is how the nuclear power plants or reactor uh, worked or designed. So let's now go to nuclear fusion. So basically fusion is the joining of light nuclei to form heavier nuclei, and is favorable for the very light atoms. So basically in both fission and fusion, the energy liberated is equivalent to the loss of mass that accompanies the reactions. So we should take note, again, take note that much greater amounts of energy per unit mass of reacting atoms are produced in fusion than in fission. Why? Because as we recall, fusion is the joining of light nuclei to form heavier nuclei. So imagine na, uh, so basically, we need to have higher energy to form. No, pag to break, well, mas kailangan natin ng much energy to form a heavier nuclei than splitting uh, the nuclei. So that's the reason why we need greater amounts of energy in fusion. So spectroscopic evidence indicates that the sun is a tremendous fusion reactor consisting of 73% hydrogen, 26% helium, and 1% other elements. Its major fusion reaction is thought to involve the combination of a deuteron or deuterium and a triton at tremendous high temperature to form a helium nucleus and a neutron. So the equation is here. So we have here a deuterium with with addition of tritium. So it forms an alpha particle, a neutron, and an energy. So thus, solar energy is actually a form of fusion energy. So our sun actually supplies energy to the Earth from distance of 93 million miles. So like other stars, it is a giant nuclear reactor. Much of its energy comes from the fission of deuterium and producing helium.